Well, thank you, Kevin. Really appreciate it. And thank you all for taking part in this webinar. It's a great pleasure to be able to talk to principals, vice principals in any forum. And this is a great opportunity to be able to connect out electronically. As Kevin said, we've been working closely with principals, vice principals on a variety of the work with respect to our framework work. And look forward to ongoing opportunities as we move this work forward. So today what I wanted to do is give a bit of an introduction to the work that we've been looking at in terms of enhancing student learning across the province, give a perspective in terms of a vision that the Ministry of Education has in terms of our reporting strategies for system performance, and a clear purpose for that, as well as give an overview on the many efforts that are going on with respect to enhancing system reporting at the school level, the district level, and the provincial level. Also, I'll give you a short overview on a measurement framework that we've been using to help guide this work, and then importantly, be able to hear from you, questions and comments. So with that, our vision and purpose within the Ministry of Education, we're wanting to really make a shift in terms of how our clients, and in this case, the word client very important, how do we support all of you in your roles as school principals, vice principals, districts. Government is an important client for us, and of course the citizens of BC. So what we're wanting to do is profoundly improve the way we can enable our clients to interact with information to inform your decisions. With citizens there, we know the reality now. People are looking on their phones. They want to access information in a visual, interactive way. That is a reality outside of education, and we want to make that the norm within education. Also with districts and schools, giving you the evidence that can inform your decisions, timely information, meaningful information, information that's based on research. And then for government, give information that will help in informing policy decisions. So some examples there, like our enrollment projections. So a lot of work there going on. The vision that we have for system reporting in BC, we want to have the most accessible, engaging, and useful information on education in the world. We're setting a very high bar here, but I think I'm very confident we can achieve this. And we've done a lot of things in the last year to help move this along. So, beginning with the end in mind, what are we doing this work for, and for what end? With all of the work that we've been doing, looking at the end, what we're looking for is an educated citizen. Those that are thoughtful, able to learn and think critically. They're creative, flexible, self-motivated, able to make independent decisions, contribute to the community. They're productive, cooperative, respectful of others, regardless of differences. All important pieces that we're looking for with all of our work, and this goes beyond the framework for enhancing student learning, our systems reporting practices. This is foundational to all the transformation efforts with our redesigned curriculum, our competencies, and assessment strategies. So the opportunity that we had when entering into this work under the framework for enhancing student learning was to able to apply all that we know about student learning to the education system as a whole. So bring those connections to what we know is important, formative assessment, looking at self-assessment, self-regulated learning, all those pieces. What works for kids, let's have that for our system as well. Timely information, representing knowledge in a variety of ways, portfolio assessment. There's so many different ways that we can apply what we know works for kids to our system as a whole. And also to be able to align all the work that we're doing with respect to our accountability work to other transformation efforts, our curriculum, competencies, communicating student learning, the grad program. So seeing connections there with all of this work, and have that system-wide focus on student learning and continuous improvement. The fundamental shift here, we're wanting to have a move from compliance exercises to genuine cross-partner ownership of student learning. And together, I think we are well ahead on achieving that. So a quick overview on the framework, setting the foundation for our system performance as system reporting work. So first of all, we needed to identify collectively with all partners at the table what our focus is. System-wide focus on intellectual, human and social, and career development. Opening it up to look at the whole child and what we value. And that's consistent with our mandate for the school system. These aren't just quickly made up. They're grounded in our mandate. And it'll bring coherence across student, school, district, and province. How those are interpreted, we wanted to give people the flexibility to be able to reflect on those goals and address it in their own context, which was an important shift. Also continuing the work that that's been occurring over the years, school planning, district planning, very important. And we want that to continue with multi-year planning, updated annually, reflecting each student, specific groups of students, Aboriginal students, children in care, students with special needs. And that one, developing it with partners, much like we created the framework itself collectively with all of our provincial partners and working at the local level, getting feedback. We're seeing the strength there to involve all partners in the planning efforts, both provincially, district, and school. Now, connected to this session, meaningful and effective evidence. So with this work, we know that evidence is critical to make informed decisions, to be able to see the impact that you're making on those decisions, to reflect on that, to find the evidence being meaningful to you, to your work, as opposed to a top-down compliance approach. So they're reporting at least annually by the districts and the province in terms of the evidence that they would be using for we would be using for our continuous improvement efforts. And they're very important to allow for that local flexibility in terms of the types of evidence that could be used and balancing that with provincial consistency. So that is an important nuanced approach where we want to recognize the vast amount of information that you have in your local context. As you get closer to kids, the more meaningful it is, and schools have information that, quite frankly, the ministry does not have, and we want to value that, being able to show the information that schools and districts have to be able to tell their story on how they're supporting students' intellectual, human, and social and career development. We also recognize we can do more in terms of our provincial reporting efforts and how we provide provincial consistency, hopefully reflecting that, the goals of this framework, and be able to put it in a way that's easy to understand. The last pillar on the right, system-wide capacity building, team-based supports focus on continuous improvement and better utilizing existing structures that exist in the province, and then where needed, build some new ones. So this one is a perfect example with this webinar and BC Principals, Vice Principals leadership in this regard to be able to communicate and support that capacity building in a way that's valued for our system. And I appreciate the leadership with BC Principals, Vice Principals in doing this with this great forum. And with all of this, connecting and making linkages with existing local agreements to ensure the consistent and meaningful support of Aboriginal students, and looking at Aboriginal students as you're planning and looking at your goals, the evidence you're collecting, and the capacity building. So that's really a very important piece. What's the value to districts and schools with this? Well, continuous improvement. We all are looking for making a difference for kids. We want this very clearly to reflect our values, also based on evidence-based research on things that we know make a difference for enhancing student learning. And then that combined evidence, again, reflecting and valuing what is reported at all levels of the education system, at the school level, at the district level, at the provincial level, and to give that whole perspective. Also importantly with this work, here's our opportunity to own the narrative as a system. Collectively, we have a huge opportunity to tell our citizens, our parents, our community, how we are doing. There's a lot of amazing things going on in BC's education system, and we have a mechanism to be able to provide that perspective. And with the framework and some of the strategies that we're doing, that is occurring, so people can get a great sense of how we're doing. As a framework, we're looking at different perspectives for our system. Intellectual, human, social, career, variety of evidence. These are put as examples, not to be prescriptive, but just to show there's a variety of evidence that we could be looking at when we're looking at student reporting. As part of that, asking questions, what evidence do you value in your continuous improvement efforts? Here's an example from one session that we've had. And this is a question that you can ask in your own community. What do you value? And having that evidence reflect what people value. Also, not being limited to what you currently have. Be able to push the foundations, your directions in terms of what type of evidence would you like to have to support student learning. So this is very iterative. As we're working forward, we're wanting to get a better place to be able to reflect on the evidence that we use to enhance student learning. And this is an ongoing process which will continuously improve. Getting feedback on how people are making use of the information and how easy it is to access. So this is actually some recent feedback from principals, vice principals. How easy is or difficult is it to access and use the evidence you value? Well, this is a recognition on the ministry, I would say, in terms of how we can make information more easy to use, accessible, not time consuming. You guys are very busy and we want to give information that's readily available and accessible. So how we do that, we're looking at two different products. First, an interactive and fully mobile responsive website with information that we'd be making available. Right now we have provincial and district information to get a sense as to how it's working and different ways of approaching. We would be looking at operationally, we provide school level information right now in our other platform, and that's something that we'd be looking at for this new platform. Also expanding our data on Open Data BC. So if you go there, have a look, and you can see the types of data that you can get, all public information. You won't find any student level of private information on it, but to get a sense as to how getting data for researchers and others that really want to get into the data. So currently how we're reporting, you can think of the top bit as the mechanism for collecting information over the school year. The bottom is how we currently disseminate it, basically a scatter of information throughout the year. Well, we know that this isn't a good way to make use of information. What we're looking for moving forward is finding some ways to present it at key times in the year so it's predictable, it's not scattered, and you can work and plan based on that. So the current realities, what we've had for our system, right now this is the way we've been reporting it. So you're getting information on provincial information on some key indicators. You look at district reports, you can get public school information, but this is the current method of accessing information for our public. So you can get a sense of the types of information that people might click on and get access. This is currently what people experience. And we've been doing this for quite some time on a strength-based approach. We have information that's available, and we're building on those strengths. However, we can do a lot more. So this is our new platform in terms of how we communicate information. And again, to complement reports created by school districts as part of their planning and continuous improvement efforts. So there's the link. If you haven't had a look at it, I encourage you. It's public and interactive. I'll give you a quick overview just to give you a sense as to how we've approached it. So with it, being able to put very clearly, again, the purpose. What we're trying to do is to assist in the development of educated citizens. An interactive approach. So if you want to pick a particular school district, get information on the district, you can find a variety of information that we've made available. Again, limited to what we currently have, but not limited in terms of the possibilities. We could look at further information. We have contextual information, so it's important to consider the context with everything that we're looking at, as well as types of information in those goal areas. So being very clear, there's types of information that we could support into the intellectual development, human, social, career. So here you can see an overview and a snapshot, the types of information that we currently have. Completion rates, FSA, grade-to-grade transitions, provincial examinations. Under human and social, being able to pull in information that's new. Most of this information is information we've provided for many years, almost 2 decades. Some is new, characteristics of students entering school. We have student satisfaction, that is consistent with what we've had in the past. Post-secondary preparation, and this is the second new type of information, transition to post-secondary. So we could get it as an example. Here I'll bring up characteristics of students entering school. So this one was working with help at UBC in the early development instrument. So being able to get a sense of districts, the kids coming in with respect to their vulnerabilities. We're wanting to present it in a graphical way where you can see the typical range, so give you benchmarks across the province of what's sort of typical, the district's current results simply with a dot, and a range of results over time, in this case 2001 to 15. So you can get a sense as to where a district is in the particular measure, as well as where they are relative to the province. And then here you want to get further information. We want to have this being more of a norm with education to get you drill down. If you want more information, you can actually interact with it. I'll provide, let's look at another example. Transition to post-secondary. So here, when you think of the kids coming into the system, where did they go? So here's another graphical method of demonstrating how we can communicate how our kids are performing and where they go. So we actually look at the kids in a cohort enrolled in 2005 and 6, the number that graduated and the number that did not graduate, but then also recognize there's many paths and that people can take, looking at to what extent they moved on to BC public post-secondary, in whether they graduated or not. So easy to use, accessible information, different ways to engage in it. If you wanted to get, let's say, look at student satisfaction, you can access it through the top or through that other mechanism at the beginning. So here, you know, ideally in this case, you can visually see, you get a pattern of here's the range over time, and then also the dot where you are. We're wanting to promote a growth-based, really internally focused in terms of your growth, where you've been and where you are. And you can get a sense, again, strengths across. So with this work, strength-based approach to show the many strengths that do exist, and then also to show areas where people might want to be looking at whether it's a trend in terms of how they've been performing as a system or relative to provincial typical performance across the province. So that was a very purposeful intent with our reporting strategy, is to show the wide variety of evidence that exists when we look at student learning. It's not just one test score, it's a variety of things that we're looking at. Also, if you're wanting to get a traditional type of report, it's accessible as a PDF too. So we've created something that we hope and we've heard is engaging to look at. It's not the data-heavy table format. It's something that people can, hopefully access in an easy-to-use way. Also, having some questions to show to help that inquiry-based approach when reviewing the results. So that's what the ministry's been doing. We started that, it's about maybe 6 months work. So we're looking to improve, and we'll work with districts and all the associations. Look forward to working with principals, vice principals, getting focus groups and continuously improving that. We're treating that as a catalyst for change, and we also recognize we can always continuously improve it. What I also really wanted to emphasize as an important takeaway, we're doing our work in the province to improve how we report, but you guys in your schools, in your districts, in your communities are also leading the way, doing amazing things over this last year to communicate how your school and your district is doing with respect to those goals and what we're doing to enhance student learning. And I was just in a couple of sessions just last week, seeing all the amazing work that is going on, and I see it regularly. As we start moving with the framework and the implementation of it to be able to show those examples, we'll create a repository. But I encourage you to share amongst your colleagues what you're doing in terms of your school planning. And again, the framework has allowed the communication is to your community, as opposed to is just to the Ministry of Education. This is your opportunity to showcase what you value as a school, as school leaders, as a school community, what evidence you're looking at in terms of connecting to those values and the goals that you're wanting to set, and then how you communicating it and working together to share that story that has evidence clearly identified with your continuous improvement efforts to your community as a whole. So with that, the next steps, continued collaboration, being able to work together to continuously improve our system performance efforts and our improvement efforts, learning from each other, sharing what strategies people have done, and be able to learn from each other in that regard, and that continuous improvement of evidence. So what other evidence would we look at? Let's not be limited to what we currently have, but be able to look at what other evidence we should be looking at that will connect to what we value. And then together, we can use meaningful evidence and system reporting strategies to enhance student learning across BC. I'm just thrilled to be able to see all the work that's going on, the deep ownership that's being taken at the school and districts level, and I look forward to continuing to work with you all in this ongoing work. So with that, I'll open it up for questions, comments, and most importantly, again, thank you for the opportunity to connect with you this morning, and I appreciate for further opportunities to work with all the amazing principals, vice principals across BC. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dean, for that overview on what has been a remarkable initiative on the part of the ministry, and I know for school leaders around the province, having that quick access to that information certainly helps us a great deal in the planning process. So just a couple of questions for you. So as you know, first off, I should back up a little bit. You presented to our board and to chapter council on the data platform. Where do you see this going? So currently people can look at district by district information. Is there a plan to be able to drill down a little bit deeper and really understand the context within schools?
Yeah, great question. And we were strategically looking at, first, this is a different way of reporting, and you think about system performance. How do we look at our system? This is something that in BC, I think we're on the forefront of, and I've heard that from even folks that are looking internationally. So what are those areas? We wanted to show how we could report differently, first at a provincial and school district level, to be able to show that, to get feedback. And then the operational direction was to look at, we currently report out, and we have been for basically 2 decades, provincial, school district, and school. So this first phase, we have the school district and provincial information, want to get feedback, and then our plan is operationally, we're working to have that school level information. That, of course, will wait for government direction on with the how and the when of that. But that's our work. We report out school level information right now in those old forms, which you can see right on the website. And we would hope that with this, also one thing I didn't highlight is to be able to show your planning, and importantly other opportunities to communicate in that context page on the ministry's enhanced reporting strategy, to be able to show your plan and your story. So we would have that linked in there with school district first is where we would be providing those links. And then as we move to this looking at school level, having that opportunity there as well.
Right. So, and just a question about, I certainly appreciate the graphic about the school year and when we do all of these different assessments and then sort of put that information back out to the field. So I think, really value the alignment between just finding key dates to sort of update the information. So can you talk a little bit more about that? Are you looking at several dates over the course of the school year? Will it be one particular date that reflective of sort of the previous year and all the information that was gathered?
So we would be seeking guidance with all the partners in terms of what makes sense. We, again, client-driven approach to be able to address the needs of all of our partners. What we do see is it's been too scattered. We'd look at strategic points. The when that would be has not been determined. We put there, November-ish, we collect information. That's, what by the time it's been processed with 1701s, et cetera. But the when and the number has not yet been determined, but will be determined in consultation with all the partners, because basically what works for you, let's reflect our practice to be aligned with what works for you. So those are things that will be important conversation points in terms of the when and the number, but it would be much fewer in number and strategic in terms of a time that would work most effectively for the system.
Okay. Just in terms of the analytics for access to the site as well, is the ministry able to track how many people are accessing the site and when they access it, and whether it's people inside or outside the system at all? I'm just kind of curious about, having this information out there in a way that I think is easier for members, our parents in particular, to sort of better understand what's going on in schools and districts. But I guess you'd be quite curious to see how that's landing in terms of how many people are accessing the site. Are you able to get a snapshot of that information?
Absolutely, and we look at that every week. So the amazing thing when you value evidence, looking for evidence to actually improve your process, we do that regularly. We can get through advanced analytics, which we reference on the site that we collect, which many web platforms do, to be able to see the number of hits, the number of page views on particular parts of the site, and also where they are across the world. So you could get a sense of wow, there's folks in Australia checking us out, or in Massachusetts, or in France. So we can get a sense as to where people are looking at it, and that's not Big Brother. It's where how many people are using it. If we created something that people aren't using, that wouldn't be effective. So the number of hits that we've had in less than 2 months, to give a context, so we're wanting to provide information in a more engaging, more useful way. The number of hits that we've achieved in less than 2 months has far surpassed some of the very key reports that the ministry has produced in 1 year. So we're giving information that is accessible to people rather than the old format that people would have to struggle through, actively seek. And we're seeing this as just in that initial less than 2 months, to be able to say, yes, people are approaching this site and using it based on numbers in a much greater manner than what we had with some of the key reports that we generated over years for the system.
Okay, thanks. I have one question here from one of our attendees. Dean, has there been any consideration given to sharing the information by postal code? So that would change some of the data, the way the data could be sorted and in alignment with the EDI data rather than the focus on the school.
Ah, great question. So we are looking at, as we extend the information, so how would we report regionally is something that we could look at. We haven't specifically looked at postal code, but if you think of geographic region as a mechanism. But that's a really good point. There again, continuous improvement. I'll put that into the mix. And I'll be actually talking to some of the folks today in terms of further enhancements. So had not thought of that, but now I have, thanks to you guys.
Okay, good. So, Dean, thank you so much. I'm just going to wrap up our session this morning and just also add a comment. We see tremendous value in this approach. I think it's really going to be able to enhance the work that school leaders do to better understand the context of their schools, their districts, and also be able to share the work that's going on in schools, I think in a more accessible way for our parent community as well. So anything that we can do as an association and as school leaders to support this initiative, please, we're here to help and support this program. Again, Dean, thank you so much for your willingness to present to us this morning. I know this is an exciting initiative for the ministry and for our association as well too. And just absolutely think we're on the right path with this. And I really want to thank you for sharing the great work that you have done to make this a reality. And I know that it will certainly impact school leaders as they go through the school improvement process within their own schools and districts. So thank you again.
Thank you, Kevin, and thank you all for attending today, but most importantly for everything that you do for kids each and every day.
All right, and with that, I'm going to bring it to a close. We have our last webinar session next week, and Nicole Davey is going to talk about her literacy approach in her elementary school coaching reading program, and that will be the final session for our webinar series. So thank you very much for your participation today. We'll post this webinar as quickly as we can, and have a great day, everyone. Thank you again, Dean.